It's 6 p.m. on a Friday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let us begin with the headlines. The new floor leaders of the nation's main political parties and President Park Geun-hye sat down for their first meeting since last month's election. They vowed to improve communication and place the people's needs above all else. For the 11th straight month, the Bank of Korea is keeping its key rate steady at the record low of 1.5%, expressing confidence the domestic economy will bounce back. Korea's once mighty shipbuilders seek support from the labor ministry as major projects are suspended and massive layoffs seem inevitable. President Park Geun-hye sat down with leading figures of major political parties of the nation this afternoon, meeting for the first time since her ruling Saenuri Party lost parliamentary majority in the last general election. All eyes and ears are on what the president and the floor leaders have discussed and agreed on. For more, we go to our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun. Ji-sun, what do we have from that meeting so far?
Good evening, Daniel. President Park, floor leaders, and chief policymakers of the three main political parties spoke for about an hour and a half this afternoon. The meeting, which kicked off in a friendly manner, resulted with some quite notable agreements. First off, the president and the leaders of the three parties will meet on a quarterly basis to communicate regularly and coordinate policies. Meanwhile, the finance minister will soon sit down with the chief policymakers of the three parties to check up on the livelihoods of the public and devise more measures to revitalize the economy. Regarding North Korean issues, the president stressed the need to resolve Pyongyang's nuclear issue and vowed to share more information on the nation's security conditions with the parliament. The ruling Saenuri Party, meanwhile, suggested that the administration creates a new position of State Minister for Political Affairs, which Park said the top office will review the chances because that law will require revising laws. The president also showed support in requests from the opposition parties, like revising the special act on the Seoul sinking case investigation, a disaster that claimed the lives of over 300 people, mostly who were high school students in 2014. Through today's meeting, President Park vowed to expand communication with lawmakers since cooperation from opposition parties is key to carrying out her policy initiatives, especially with a three-way parliament that no longer has a majority. I'll bring you more updates in our later newscast. Back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Ji-sun. Staying with the meeting, party officials and the president also discussed livelihood issues, improving cooperation in state affairs, and addressing the current stalemate in inter-Korean relations and North Korea's nuclear program. The main opposition Minju Party of Korea and minor opposition People's Party also raised the issue of fast-tracking compensation for people affected by the toxic humidifier sterilizers made by the Korean branch of UK's oxy-racket Benckiser. Going forward, President Park and the floor leaders agreed to hold regular meetings every quarter in line with her bid to improve communication with Parliament, following consistent criticism over her handling of relations during her tenure. Korea's central bank has held its key rate steady at 1.5% for the 11th consecutive month. The decision comes amid mounting pressure on the BOK to lend a stronger hand to the government's corporate restructuring drive. Shin Se-min brings us this report.
The Bank of Korea held its benchmark rate steady at 1.5%, a record low for 11 straight months. In its first monetary policy meeting with 4 new board members, the central bank cited a modest uptick in global oil prices as a reason to have more confidence, adding that the current monetary policy is accommodative enough to support expansion.
Despite lingering uncertainties from in and outside of the country, the BOK has taken into account the fact that the domestic economy will moderately improve, and it will monitor any economic changes coming its way.
Those changes will include the government-led corporate restructuring process. The BOK faces mounting pressure to provide more liquidity to 2 state-run banks burdened by debt from ailing shipping and shipbuilding companies. The top central banker said that while the BOK is closely cooperating with related authorities to facilitate the restructuring drive, measures should only be put into motion if the central bank's fiscal soundness can be preserved. Experts say that caution is required, but also essential is seeing the restructuring through.
The country's potential of economic growth largely depends on how the corporate restructuring goes. Industrial reforms will be based on this, so it's a significant and inevitable process that needs to be dealt with.
Considering this, analysts say that given the BOK's determination to ensure it sees no losses in financing the restructuring drive, the government should not rule out the option of a supplementary budget to give more firepower to the country's floundering industries. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
A major Korean shipbuilding association turns to the government for help. The Labor Ministry is set to review the application for a new program that could provide benefits to both companies and its workers. Kim Jung-soo has more on the fallen Titan's desperate measures.
The Korea Offshore and Shipbuilding Association has filed for support under a special government program amid the prolonged slump in the shipbuilding sector. The Labor Ministry said Friday the association is seeking support as a special employment support industry under a new government program. The association represents Korea's major shipbuilders, including the Big Three, Hyundai Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Samsung Heavy Industries. The news comes as industry insiders project that the sector, which commands a workforce of over 200,000 people, will lay off more than 30,000 people this year, with contractors shedding more jobs to the Big Three shipyards. The expected layoffs are primarily the result of widespread industry losses stemming from a drop in demand, construction delays, and order cancellations. Sinking global oil prices, which have fallen from an average of $100 per barrel to $40 over the past year, have especially contributed to the drop in demand for offshore facilities. Daewoo Shipbuilding, which focuses on building offshore plants for international clients, currently has 4 projects valued at a combined total of nearly 7 trillion won, or roughly $7 billion, suspended indefinitely. The Labor Ministry launched the support program in December, and if approved, the shipbuilders will become the first beneficiaries. The program authorizes financial support for the companies, and workers who are laid off can receive unemployment benefits for a maximum of 270 days. The actual amount of monthly benefits will also increase to 60% of the original pay rate, from 50% under previous programs. The ministry says it will now send officials to Geoje and Ulsan to evaluate the association's support claim. Kim Jung-soo, Arirang News.
High-level government officials met to discuss ways to boost the country's IC sector. Kim Ji-yeon updates us on the rapid follow-up to Korea's first strategic meeting for science and technology.
During Friday's meeting led by Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn, 6 items, including the so-called K-ICT Strategy 2016 agenda, were considered and voted on. Under the strategy, the country plans to strengthen the links between 9 existing strategic projects seen as essential to the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Korea's technology and infrastructure related to the 4th Industrial Revolution are still in their infant stages. The growth of new products and services in the field is limited, mainly due to regulatory barriers. In response, the government will establish strategic plans surrounding ICT to respond promptly to global changes.
The officials at the meeting also revised Korea's previous ICT strategy to include artificial intelligence and virtual reality technology. By 2019, the country aims to apply deep machine learning technology to systems for countering cyber terror threats. And by 2020, the technology will be used towards smart systems for medical research. The government also has detailed plans to acquire smart software, including the linguistically smart exobrain and the visually intelligent Deep View, by 2018 in time for the Pyeongchang Olympics, which is seen as an opportunity to promote Korea's advanced ICT exports. By 2020, the country aims to increase Korea's ICT export volume to $210 billion from $126.4 billion last year. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
It has been more than 2 weeks since the UN Security Council began considering a press statement condemning North Korea's test of mid-range ballistic missiles last month. The latest comment out of Russia adds weight to speculation that Moscow is holding up the process. Connie Kim delves deeper into the issue.
Russia has been pressuring North Korea to refrain from military activity and has called on South Korea and the U.S. to do the same as it holds up adoption of a UN Security Council press statement condemning North Korea's launch of mid-range ballistic missiles last month. The statement has been delayed for more than 2 weeks. Speaking at a regular briefing on Thursday, Russia's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said Moscow supports the current UN sanctions against Pyongyang for its nuclear and missile launches. She added all related nations should avoid aggravating tensions on the Korean peninsula and instead follow a path of political and diplomatic resolution. Her comments add weight to the growing speculation that Russia wants to add content to the UN statement that specifically calls for Seoul and Washington to refrain from military action, namely its annual joint military drills. Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, had previously said Moscow proposed the same, leading to assumptions that Russia is trying to link North Korea's provocations to the military exercises between South Korea and the US. Considering that it has been more than 2 weeks since the North launched 2 Busan missiles in late April, some are voicing their concern that a press statement from the UN Security Council is unlikely.
Russia and China are trying to turn the current situation towards dialogue, so additional sanctions or a statement condemning the North does not look easy.
There have been 5 press statements this year condemning North Korea's provocations, pushing up tensions in the region. A growing number of analysts in Seoul say China and Russia are concerned about the mounting pressure on the North, which could lead to more instability in Pyongyang. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The White House says U.S. President Barack Obama's upcoming visit to Hiroshima aims to commemorate the Japanese and all the innocents who died in the August 1945 bombing, including the Korean victims. According to Asian Affairs spokesperson Miles Kaggans, the May 27th visit is meant to honor the memory of all innocents lost in World War II. The atomic bombs are believed to have killed some 20,000 Koreans in Hiroshima and 10,000 in Nagasaki of the more than 220,000 victims overall. The White House had previously announced that Obama would pay tribute to the victims but not offer an apology. President Park Geun-hye attended a ceremony in downtown Seoul ahead of Teachers' Day, which falls on Sunday this year. Korea has been celebrating the day for more than 5 decades as a way to honor the educators who have shared so much with their students. Oh Jung-hee has the full story.
The world celebrates Teachers' Day on October 5th every year, and Korea does on May 15th by singing songs and giving carnations to teachers. These gestures are considered as small tokens of appreciation and respect for the people who shared their knowledge and compassion with their students in both good times and bad. The date in Korea coincides with King Sejong's birthday, as he is considered by the Korean people as a true teacher for his creation of Korean alphabet Hangul. This one special day for Korean teachers was first designated in 1963, 5 years after young members of Korea's Red Cross began visiting teachers who fell ill or were retired. In honor of the day coming up on this Sunday, President Park Geun-hye attended the 35th Teachers' Day ceremony on Friday in downtown Seoul, making her second consecutive visit to the annual ceremony. In her commemorative speech, the president said she very much appreciates the hard work of educators nationwide and asked them to help foster students' dreams and talents. She also put emphasis on the kind of education that leads students to think creatively, saying that this will decide Korea's future and bring about groundbreaking changes for the country. A total of 4,383 exemplary teachers were rewarded with presidential citations and government medals this year, some of whom were present at the ceremony to receive them from the president. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Korean workers logged the second longest working hours among OECD nations, which is why efficiently utilizing lunchtime is all important to them. Kim Hye-sung introduces us to some growing midday trends among office workers in the nation.
Kim Bum-soo, a man who works in downtown Seoul, says he often uses his lunch break to go shopping.
On weekends, I want to go on dates with my girlfriend or hang out with my family, so I use my lunch break to buy jackets or other things.
This store that just opened last month is the first fashion outlet to open in Seoul's busiest office district of Chonglo to accommodate the growing needs of office workers just like Kim. Compared to other branches, this store offers a greater variety of business attire as its main target customers are office workers. Along the streets of Chonglo, you can find cafes, clothing stores, and cosmetic shops that offer lunchtime promotions for office workers. In addition to retail stores, department stores located in office districts like Chonglo and Gangnam have also seen an uptick in lunchtime sales over the last 5 years.
Private consumption in Korea is on a downturn. It's people in their 30s and 50s who spend the most, so businesses are coming up with various strategies to attract them.
This yoga center offers a class at noon to attract workers who want to exercise during their lunch break.
Most of the students in our noontime class are working women. For their convenience, we offer snacks and lunch after the 40-minute class is over.
As a growing number of Korean office workers try to find a work-life balance and make the most of their free time, it looks like the lunchtime shopping trend will continue. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
We've come to the end of this hour's newscast. Thank you for watching. More updates coming your way at 10 p.m. Korea time.